quick rundown of Project 1B. So you're going to build a basic little autograder for what you did in Project 1A. And what we're going to do is give you a buggy version of ArrayDeck, a buggy version of linked list deck, and your job is to find the bugs and print out a message that is useful, imagining that you are me and writing an autograder. So ultimately what you're going to build is you are going to write a test ArrayDeck and test linked list deck class that is going to output a bunch of messages here that are going to correspond to a sequence that causes the deck in question to break. So in this case, this test ran, and it turns out if you do is empty, add first, is empty, remove last, and so forth, all the way down to this bottom one, then you will find that the student deck will return -6, but we expect 0. Okay, that's the rough picture. So how are you going to do that? Well, phase 1 is going to be writing some JUnit tests, right? You're going to write just any old JUnit test like you've done on the labs, and it's just supposed to fail as soon as there's a problem, right? So I'll let you think about how you might do that. One approach is doing randomized calls to both the student solution and the reference solution, or just some sequence you construct manually, right? So that's part 1, and that should be more or less like what you're used to. One minor hiccup you might run into, especially if you're using an IntelliJ, make sure that the first thing you do is that you can actually create, say, student array deck. So there's an example file here called student array deck launcher. Okay. So once you manage to write some tests that cause the student solution to fail, and I don't anticipate this should be a huge deal, then it's time to move on to the next part. So in the second part, which should actually be even shorter than the first part, what you want to do is take advantage of this method. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, you'll notice that in the little failure message I have right here, that it says a whole lot of stuff, right? It says running test 3, and that prints out that giant long sequence. And it ends with this right here. Expected 0 was -6. So how do you get this whole big thing to appear? Well, what you're going to do is you are going to use assert equals message expected actual, which is a little different than the one you used in lab, right? So if we click here, it turns out that there's a bunch of assert equals methods where the first argument is a string, and that string is what you want to say. Okay. So for example, suppose it is the case that adding first 5, adding first 3, and then removing first results in an incorrect answer, then you will pass this as a string. Okay. So as a couple more examples, there's a file I've provided called assert equals string demo that just shows you when you call assert equals, you can put a string up here, and this will cause this test to fail with an interesting message. I guess, do I have it in this folder? Assert equals, assert equals demo. Okay, so if I run this test, I'm using my loud keyboard, sorry. This is the good one though. Feels nice to type on. So if I run this test, this one says I have failed. Wait, what? Assert equals expected actual. Well, that's a little funny. There we go. Oh, it's a random test. So sometimes it'll fail, sometimes it won't. In this case, it says, oh no, this is bad, right? So instead of saying, oh no, this is bad, you should be saying the appropriate message. Now, obviously, it might be a little annoying to keep track of all those little things, all the arguments you've made. So I provided another set of helper methods that you're welcome to use. You don't have to failure sequence and deck operation. That should make your life a lot easier. Just some nice abstractions, okay? So what I ask is that you please don't get too bogged down in little tiny things. I don't want you to be in debugging hell on this project, so please, 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 please look at these tips, and especially look at these frequently asked questions. So there are a number of little things that popped up during the first day of this assignment, where, for example, students observed that they can cause null pointer exceptions. So if at some point you're getting a null pointer exception, in any case, anything that involves a null pointer exception, whether you're looking at the autograder or what's happening on your own computer, please make sure you check out these frequently asked questions, because there's some funny little issues, okay? And I guess I'll throw out there, don't try to test print deck, okay? So definitely read all of the spec and make sure to pay attention to these guys before you're really going, and that is that.